Hello, friends. How are you? Hi, Savannah. How are you?
Hello, hello. I was just getting on Instagram to drop a live or like a little Instagram story that's like, "Hey, so excited to be with this. I'm going to finish doing that while you get going."
Yes, I'll take a moment and introduce. So you tend to that. Hi, everybody. As you're joining, I'm Jaime, the founder of the Holistic Spa Alliance. I have been so excited to have these conversations over the last 2 days. And Savannah, who I will introduce here in a moment, is going to be talking to us about nervous system and mind body awareness. So, a really exciting conversation to come up for multiple reasons on multiple levels. But let me start by saying thank you for joining us. The Rooted in Practice Summit is where the work begins within, and it's lived before it's offered. It's a practitioner first summit focused on how we actually live the work that we offer through rest, nutrition, hydration, spirituality, movement, self care, and a few nuanced categories within this conversation as well. And it's not about learning more to give, it's truly about us, about building a sustainable, aligned practice from the inside out. So I hope what you're taking from these is little seeds that are going to plant and sprout bigger ideas and thoughts and concepts, perspectives, if you will, on how to take care of ourselves as we are constantly outpouring to others. So if you're enjoying these conversations happening through the summit, the HSA was created to support wellness practitioners beyond this event. So we're a place where we learn, grow, connect, and build more sustainable careers. We're a growing ecosystem of education, community, business support, and real conversations. So if any of that sounds wonderful to you, please follow the Holistic Spa Alliance. And a quick little plug, we are giving away a 3-month membership because the HSA is finally launching one. And it being our foundation membership, we're going to have a lifetime price point for that foundation membership to those who join now. And one person is going to be drawn at random for a 3-month membership. So we're going to draw that for June 1st. Whether you're catching this live or on replay, you're going to be able to still enter into that drawing. So go to holisticspa.alliance.com. And oh my gosh, you can only see me one at a time streaming, but I am looking at Savannah holding the most adorable puppy. And okay, if you want me to be on track, I don't know how this is going to happen. Everybody will hopefully get a chance to see that cute pup in a moment. Without any further ado, I am so excited to introduce Savannah. Savannah, you've got to grab that little puppy again. Everybody needs to see, but
Okay. This is my Doxy Poo Scooter. He
oh,
is well, a hot mess. God love him. He accidentally, so my big dog Callie's about 50 pounds and she gets really nervous in storms. We're going to talk about orienting and nervous system regulation. So I was giving her little sleepy time meds yesterday afternoon. She spit them out and he ate her whole dose.
oh dear.
So this one became the bear in the room yesterday as I had to as I had to tend to Scooter, but we'll talk a little bit more about what I mean by that. But he is every bit the dachshund that you would expect him to be, and all snuggles and a whole lot of sassy. There.
Thank you for bringing him into this. Speaking of orienting, it's so amazing how animals can do that for us and just bring us down into a calm. But let me formally introduce you. And by the way, thank you everybody for joining, who is joining, watching this on replay. I really have been so thankful for the support. And I'm hoping you're taking some really wonderful information. But Savannah, Savannah is an integrative mind body practitioner. She's a therapist, a body worker, a yoga therapist, and creator of the Mind Body Roadmap. So, Savannah, before we get into the real talk, if you don't mind, tell us just a little bit more about yourself beyond the formalities and
Yes.
share a little bit about your own journey and what originally pulled you towards this work.
So, a little bit about me. I think we just need to kind of go personality wise to know if you're going to want to stay for this whole talk or not. Because I'm one of those people that tends to be pretty polarizing. The people that love tea love me. People that don't like tea, I'm not their cup of tea, right? But I am very direct, very to the point, a little bit irreverent, and I do not take myself or this work seriously. It is important, But that doesn't mean it has to be serious. I'm always focused about how can we bring in joy, levity, lightheartedness, those types of things. And for me in my life, joy, humor, laughter, levity has been the most consistent medicine that I've come back to over and over and over again. Being able to laugh at myself, being able to not. I had somebody on Instagram that went, "Don't call that woo woo." Like if you can't laugh and call the holistic thing a little bit woo on occasion, like I, I'm not quite sure. We're not going to be that type of person. But like I said, for the type of person who really is open to, being able to look at things and not take everything so seriously. And well, we have to regulate our nervous systems. It's important, but it's not serious. Like this doesn't have to be this whole rigid to the this to the. Well, I'm a therapist. It has to be serious. Yeah, I bring humor into my clinical practice as well too. I've found that when I'm working with people on the table, especially for people in a massage world, um, people who are nervous tend to respond pretty well to a good, well-timed joke, right? A little bit of laughter, wait, right, can break the ice, help people get a little bit more comfortable. And especially when we're talking about orienting, we're talking about nervous system work, we're talking about all these pieces. Finding the things that can make us laugh and the things that can bring us joy is really where the heart of nervous system regulation comes from. And when I was walking my own path through this, I probably the first 18 years of my life, I was very serious. I was going to do it by myself. I was very serious, very school. I was going to be a doctor and I was so serious with it. And I realized at some point along the way, like, hey, that just doesn't quite work. Like, wait, holy moly, things just move a little bit better when we're able to laugh at ourselves and take things a little bit more easily. And I'm on a stool, so if I kind of if I kind of wobble a little bit side to side, I'm
Same
actually
girl. We're all
wobbling
good.
a little bit
Yeah.
side to side, or orienting to my to my state, my stability as well too. Um, so when I was about 18, I found yoga for the first time, and I loved it, and I fell in love. Like I loved what it did to my body, but I fell in love with the practice and this concept of being able to come back to a space and a time and connect to myself. And I never knew how to do that before. Um, and so really yoga was kind of the start for me at 18 years old of how to find a little bit of play, find a little bit of laughter, find a little bit of levity, and also to be able to orient to where my body is in space, so proprioception, orienting to my hands on the mat. I started to do inversions pretty quickly. So yeah, if I'm doing a handstand, I need to know where my hands are on the mat. Headstands, I need to know where my head and my hands are, right? And then also being able to interocept, being able to check in with myself, which was something, again, I'd never been taught how to do. And so this space of yoga really opened a lot of doors for me and really became something. I'm 34 years old, so I've been doing yoga now for 16 years of my life. It's crazy. I remember thinking like when I'm 36, I'm going to be able to say that I've done it for half my life. And I'm like, I'm looking at that not too far in the future going, whoa, man, whoa.
Happening.
Um, it's insane. And I still come back to it. And what my practice looks like now is very different, but along the way, yoga was sort of this jumping point to help me intuit, discern, learn how to figure out what the next right choice for me was. And there were times in my life that therapy was very, very helpful. There were times in my life that body work was very, very helpful. And there were times that I started to, well, not times, again, personality wise kind of thing. I'm very, very curious too, like almost to a fault sometimes. I've been told recently I'm very, very detail oriented as well. But I'm very curious. I want to understand how people work. I want to understand how things work. I want to understand the why behind it. And so when I would find something that was helpful for me, I usually would go get trained in it because I wanted to wanted to understand the how and the why. Which is what led to sort of well, grad school being a more of a professional track for me. It's pretty hard to make it. I think if you're a yoga teacher, it's pretty hard to make a living as a yoga teacher alone. But clinically, I was able to build sort of this integrated practice. And then as I started to do my somatic experiencing training, which is where I learned about the nervous system or started to learn about the nervous system, I started to pick in these other pieces and realize I actually need to understand the body more deeply. I really need to understand the physiology and really how and why certain things work together, which is what led me to massage school. And it's just sort of been this ongoing journey of finding the next right best step and the next right piece. And if you want me to go into the mind body roadmap a little bit, I will in a second. I've actually got my poster, literally a hand drawn big poster
Nice.
on the wall. And it's derived from a yoga therapy concept, but it's the idea of how the mental, the physical, the spiritual, and the emotional all play together because we're not just our thoughts. If we were, talk therapy would be far more effective for a lot of people. Most people that do straight talk therapy need some sort of adjunct, be it medication, be it alternative treatments, things like that. The nervous system is what I believe to be the biggest catalyst, and we'll get into that more over the next bit, right? But the physical body has a role. It's important. That's where medication, that's where pharmaceuticals, that's where movement, to some extent, movement's also energetic. But also surgery lives kind of on the physical realm. So there's a time and a place for that as well too. But there's a quote in a book. I'm gonna see it. So my office is. It looks similar if you're if you're used to my setup, but this is actually a brand new office. I had to orient to a lot of things in 2026. A brand new office and a new space for myself was one of those. But Science of Breath by Swami Rama is one of the books we used in my yoga therapy training. And I'm looking for it and I'm not seeing it. Yes, I am. Well, I can pull this quote out very, very quickly. One of my favorite quotes, and this is really, I think, gets to the heart of the Holistic Spa Alliance as well, too. Let's see. The problem of the mind-body interaction is one that plagues our medical scientists and baffles our psychologists. When physicians fail to alter the physical body, right, so the pharmaceuticals and the surgery, they throw their hands up and say the problem must be psychological. And when psychologists are unable to help patients reorganize their mental world, they shrug and say, maybe you should see a doctor and make sure there's not something physical going on. And patients will shuttle back and forth between frustrated therapists and puzzled doctors, why the psychosomatic, the mind body specialist who would understand the integration of mind and body are yet to appear on the scene. Hey, the doctors are confused, the therapists are confused. What bridges that gap and what's in between? And the word prana in yoga or Sanskrit means really vitality and vital life force. This is about far more than just inhale, exhale breath. This goes into prana pretty deeply too, which is that energetic body, which is where the nervous system really kind of all comes into. We are electrical chemical beings that are this interplay between mind and body, and really being able to understand that gap, that middle ground, was what changed everything for me. And I'm going to pause there. I said a lot, and I tend to talk fast.
No, you did, but it was all such amazing information. And let me start at the beginning where I found you was TikTok. And the first thing I noticed was your beautiful self and your beautiful energy. And then you started saying things, and I was like, wow, I understand what this chick is saying. Like, it's right up my alley. At first, I didn't notice the words, I noticed you, frankly. And then I noticed what you were talking about, and I was like, I need to know her. So, I mean, of course, I've been following you and just cold call reached out. And so for that, I'm so thankful that A, you do reply to people. And
I
here
do
we are
actually
having a
reply.
deeper conversation. But, you know, it's not without coincidence, but I've gathered a group of women that truly embody their work. And a lot of things that each one of us are saying from topic to topic are all intertwined, building off of each other, supporting the other conversations. And I'm really hoping that everybody watching is truly understanding that. We just spoke with Carol Ann, who has spoke on the four pillars of an Ayurvedic, four pillars of health, Ayurvedic health. I've said
Yeah,
that
yeah.
backwards, but you get my point.
Ayurveda is beyond my, we touched on it in my 1,000 hour yoga therapy training, but it is a whole different duck. And I have the utmost
Incredible.
respect, but
But
it
you've
is,
already highlighted in your first sentence, like you're about joy, happiness, laughter, lightness. And that is one of the four pillars. And it's that's what drew me to you. It's just incredible to see how these conversations are coming full circle, but I can't wait to now like really dive into it. So the name of the topic is orienting our nervous system. What does that mean? What does orienting our nervous system actually mean?
Doing it right now. So I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna kind of talk you through what I just did. So our nervous systems at their core are our electrical energy system in our body, right? So our nervous system is the electrical energy, literally wiring, nerves, or not electrons, like electrical charges are sent along nerves. That's why TENS units can actually be helpful for pain. A whole different conversation, but literally electrical energy. Hormones are chemical energy, but we have kind of this interplay of both. And when we think about what kind of a root underlying mechanism is behind, quite frankly, a lot of the DSM. So a lot of the things that I work with clinically and a lot of things that I are beyond my scope clinically too. I personally believe, and I know a lot of people would agree with this as well, go back to wonky electrical signaling on some level or some sort of misfiring, causing a cascade through our hormones, through that chemical energy that then impacts every part of our body. So it's not, and I see the I think one of my bigger videos. It's not just about your vagus nerve, right? You'll hear me holler about
I
that.
do recall that video actually.
Oh, that one's got a lot of controversy because then people want to delve into why polyvagal theory is stupid. And it's like, okay, so 30 years later, can you give me something better? That'd be great. No, you want to complain. Okay, cool, thanks. Um, but when we look at our nervous system, it's not just nerves. Yes, it's complex, not complicated, but it is complex. But if we look at key parts of our nervous system that regulates everything inside, right? Our autonomic nervous system, if we can look at key parts of that and understand how to use those nerves to our advantage to intervene and to do something different when trauma, chaos, stress, anxiety, problem du jour hijacks us and tells us that there's literally a bear in the room that's going to kill us if we don't interact or we don't do something different. That is stress, dysregulation of the nervous system. Fight, flight is a survival level energy. Your brain is responding, even if it's that email, that bad email, as though it is a bear in the room that could maul you, that you have to run from to save your life or fight to save your life. That is the core of fight flight energy, is a survival level response. There is a bear. Your brain has decided something is as dangerous as a bear in the room with you. What do we do about it? And so if we know that those survival level responses that underlie PTSD, anxiety, most of the DSM, a lot of physical issues too. So the fancy name for POTS is dysautonomia, dysregulation of your autonomic nervous system. We're sort of talking about the same thing here, right? And there's a whole lot of other, I'm just briefly touching on that, but there's a whole lot of other issues too, physical, mental, emotional as well, that really do go back to, or are at least exacerbated by a nervous system that's just not quite calibrated properly. When we think about the ability to take a deep breath in, if I can take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out, and if I can look around the room and realize that I'm in a beautiful office that is painted not one shade of pink, but two shades of pink. Thank you so much. And that has my crystals and my books, and I've got my dog in my lap that, yeah, he scared the crap out of me yesterday, but today he's good. And if I can orient to no product placement here, but my favorite cup that has a protein shake I didn't quite blend up all the way, right? I can get into taste, to touch, to sight, to sound. I hear my AC unit going. I keep it rather cool in the house. And my stool that's kind of wobbly back and forth. That's all information that reads to my brain, not at the cognitive thinky brain level, but at the autonomic, super fast, we're talking brainstem level, that, hey, there's actually not a bear in the room. There's not a survival level threat in my environment that I have to respond to. Just for right now, maybe not 5 minutes from now, but just for right here and right now, I'm okay enough. I'm safe enough that then allows everything in the physiology, that hormonal cascade that can come with stress. And if you want to go into that, we can. I can give you sort of the highlighted version of that. But being able to talk to your nervous system on that level tells your whole hormonal system, hey, we're good. Not a bear. We don't need to pump out the stress juice. We're good. All of the cells in our body then get the chance to orient towards safety, orient towards safe enough, maybe not safety, but safe enough, to joy, to levity of, oh, yeah, you're right. That was, oh yeah, don't pretend that wasn't a bear. That was just an email from Jeff in accounting. Man, oh. Jeff. Oh. Right. You can have the space and the opportunity to make a different choice and to do something different. And what I hear over and over again is that people feel hijacked, they feel out of control. Life is just sort of taking them going along. They're swept up in whatever the stress, the anxiety, the trauma that, you know, being a human in 2026 at this point, if you don't have at least some inkling of that, I would like to study you and replicate it as best as I possibly can. But most people have some iteration of that. So how do we intervene in very concrete, doable, easy, and free? Like we don't need to hook up an electrode to your vagus nerve to impact change on this. We can literally use what God gave you, use what is inbuilt to your body to be able to find ease, joy, positivity. The word in Sanskrit is sukha, finding the ease, the good stuff, right? How do we find more of that and cultivate more of that? We have to start finding a pocket, man. And that starts by being able to discern whether or not there is actually a bear in the room with you, which is what orienting is all about.
Am I correct in hearing that orienting can be as simple as being aware of your five senses then? What you
100%.
see, what you touch, what you smell,
So
taste.
there, there's a kind of a grounding exercise that I see a lot of folks who don't have a ton of mind body training using, where okay, well, name five things you can this, name two things you can, just looking at it. That can be helpful when we can take sensory information, so touch, taste, sight, sound, smell, and apply it to, or not apply it, but also then bring in this curiosity element. So, can we do that and be curious about what's around us? When we can combine that together, bread and butter. That is literally the bread and the butter of nervous system work. That, like, the core of somatic experiencing, the core of nervous system integration, any good nervous system practice. Can you orient to your five senses? Bonus points if you can propriocept and interocept as well too. But can you be curious about it? And the specific reason for curiosity is when we're looking at how mammals respond to threat, and this is mammals across the animal kingdom. There's a very specific distinction between orienting to where's the bear, where's the bear, where's the bear, there's a bear, I know there's a bear, where's the bear, where's the bear? That's hypervigilance, right? Where's the bear? I know there's a bear. Eyes wide, eyes darting, right? Okay, where's the bear? I know there's a bear. Everything's lifted, your breath is, where's the bear? I know there's a bear, I know there's a bear. Versus, hey, I like that. What is around me? Not, hey, where's the bear, but what is here? What is around me? Oh, look at that. Dachshund, right? I have a dog on my lap, or oh, there was this a little bit gritty. Oh, that's just my protein shake, right? That's not like dirt in there. I didn't blend my protein shake up well enough. Or, oh, why is this cold? Is it ice? Am I going to freeze it? No, it's cold. Yes, it's ice, but I'm not going to freeze to death because it's ice in a cup,
I see. Yeah.
which we'll get to one of we'll use some of my favorites. I'll tell you more about my favorites, ice being one of them. But being able to be curious to what's around you and ask what is here. And if you can, oh, what do I like about my environment? What about your environment? What's around you? What's something that you're around that makes you happy right now? I love that wall behind you. I've been orienting to that since we hopped on, right? I love Most of the things in my office, they make me really freaking happy. I picked them out on purpose. Most of here has a specific intention and a specific purpose. And when we can be curious, we're able to settle into what we call exploratory orienting, which is what helps us regulate versus, and this was a question I got on TikTok, I think it was, well, oh, won't orienting make me more hypervigilant? If you're asking yourself and you're constantly looking for the problem, yeah. But if you're able to settle in, soften, be curious, be joyful, be open to possibilities of there not being a bear, it usually helps people settle.
I think this is such an important question because we aim to help nervous system regulation, especially as holistic estheticians and
Mhm,
massage therapists.
mhm,
And without going beyond our scope, I think the initial thought is, well, just the massage is going to help do that and just
mhm,
the facial. And we're going to get into it a little bit more. But before we even go to the practitioner side, we as practitioners, I'll use myself as an example. I have mentioned a couple times I've been on my own like wellness journey to really discovering and balancing a well-rounded holistic lifestyle. Nervous system regulation is part of that. But I recognized at a certain point that my kids, who are now 9 and 7, I had never left that survival mode from birth, infancy, toddler, and it stayed with them. At a certain point, reflected upon this and was like, gosh, I'm still in fight or flight. I am still in survival mode. So even not having a trauma or a PTSD attached to it, it is so common for us to be so overly busy, not take care of ourselves, and running on high adrenaline all the
mhm.
time. And this is again where the conversations are going to start as us. And we are going to layer in how to chat with our clients in the treatment rooms as well, obviously through hearing this. But let me start with this question. What is something the body knows before the mind is ready to admit it? Where do we start?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh. Most things the body picks up. So mirror neurons, a part of our nervous system, is that we can register safety in a person in fractions of a second. So everything that our nervous system is sending, literally body up, it's making decisions and judgment calls in literally hundredths of a second. That's our fear center, our amygdala that goes down through our hypothalamus, our pituitary, all sorts of. That's, we're getting a little neurosciencey there. I love this stuff, so rein me back in if I go a little too deep. Um, but that thinky brain, the one that we love to attach to, that loves to tell us a story about how everything is fine, or no, that's you're just no, that's ignore that gut feel. I know you have a weird gut feeling, but you're probably reading it wrong. That person wants what's best for you. They have your best interest at heart. Meanwhile, you've got like a knot in your stomach the whole time, like knowing that there's something wonky, right? Or you're in an environment that just, I want to be here. Yeah, I like being here. This is great. And everything inside of you is going, I don't like it. I need to go home. I want to go home. I'm overstimulated. I'm this, I'm that, right? Most things are sensed by our body before our cognitive brain has even a snowball's chance to think about catching up. Full seconds, multiple seconds is what it takes our cognitive thinky brain to interact and to, or not interact, but to respond. The autonomic pathways, our nervous system, like I said, is firing hundredths. It's already made the decision that not only do you need to fight or flee, but it's going to tell you how to fight and flee. You're going to be halfway down the road before your brain even has a chance to go, that was a bad email. That wasn't a bear. And so learning how to pick up on those the signals, the cues and the signals, the signals that our body is giving us is really can be life-saving at times. I've been in, I had a couple of fender benders. So I was actually in a pretty major car accident in 2023. I didn't have any gut feeling before that one. I think that was one of those things that was just the universe meant to happen. But there were a couple sort of like fender benders when I was really young of just like backing into something or like just not quite angling the car right. Um, that would always get that weird gut feeling before. I had a bad feeling both times it happened before I got in my car. There's something in my system, in my spirit, in my body, and my nervous system knew something was wonky. And that rational thinky brain overrode it, which we're kind of getting into the crux of why talk therapy can sometimes be not the most effective is if we're only trying to intervene with our thoughts. Like I said, our nervous system's already made decisions and also implemented those decisions, not just made them, but implemented the course of action on a hormonal level before our brain even has a chance. And so if we're just trying to change our thoughts to override your panic attacks, to override your anxiety, to override your nervous system, let me know how it goes. It's probably not going to work very well. It's usually the people I see in my office in first session, it's like, yeah, is it working well? No, I'm here. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So,
as a society, we have really separated our body from
oh,
our
absolutely.
mind big time. And as a mom, I understand a mother's intuition. Like, oh, I don't feel comfortable in this situation. That's how I've learned to respond back to it. Frankly,
Mhm.
I don't know as if I was paying much attention to it
Mm,
previously, but becoming a mother really enhanced that awareness, that ability of my own internal intuition, my gut reaction that was happening to something.
absolutely. And I've seen there's been a few reels that have come across. I can't remember which platform at this point. Um, but essentially like people thought motherhood would soften you and in some ways it did, but motherhood also I, I don't know if it's hormonal, if it's I mean, I'm sure probably the like massive hit of oxytocin has something to do with it.
Sure.
But relational, hormonal, biological, whatever the biopsychosocial root is, then yes, it changes us. And there's kind of being forged by fire almost. Like it's a
Yeah.
my baby is 7, almost 8 months old now, and it's if you have a kid, you understand it.
Yeah, there's a level of hypervigilance that can come in that almost can become not healthy. Uh,
Well,
in the best way
mhm.
possible, of course, but it can snowball
Well, and when you
into
think
high anxiety and
birth trauma too. Like most
okay.
women that I know are coming out of the medical model fairly traumatized by their birth
Mhm.
to some extent. And then you layer in the fact that I'm trying not to go full blown tinfoil hat here. I can't remember who's the big lobbyist behind or the big companies that lobby against paid maternity leave in the United States. But there's several big companies that profit off of certain baby products that lobby against paid maternity leave. So a lot of women are going back to work. If you get any paid maternity leave, you're fortunate, especially in the, excuse me, sorry, I'm chomping eyes, especially in this type of realm where we're talking about these sort of practitioners. Most people don't get paid maternity leave. And then you're being separated from your baby, but then also this weird sort of environment where we're not nurtured through these major shifts and these major changes that are really initiation points. And motherhood it's an initiation. Menarche is one too, menopause is another. And that's a whole different
Yes.
reining it back in here. But and even being able to orient too to, hey, something is different. For me, motherhood, I think, brought out the very best in me and in so many ways. And it really it, I love being a mom and I love being able to relate to other people in this new embodied way because I feel so much more embodied and so much more grounded. I'm also in the minority of
Mm.
feeling more grounded and more supported postpartum. And that's not not to go into more detail than that, but I've also had to find myself in a new living environment. So we're gonna leave that there. But um, it's just this very most mothers aren't set up for success. And whether or not
Yeah.
that's intentional.
And this might be part of this this might be part of your example and only at a level you're comfortable with, but how did this work become personal to you? What were you experiencing? Or was your body telling you something that you weren't listening to? Where did this come from for you, this orienting?
as I'm chomping ice and orienting to the cold. I was one of those people that always, and it's sort of come up even, in my adult life too, but I was always taught, and I think this is fairly common for women, fairly common for women. I'm in the South, I'm in Arkansas, is that we're always taught to put the needs of other people first.
Yes.
And there's a lot of ways and flavors and iterations that can show up, but put other people first, do put that before yourself, always checking in with other people. And I saw this creator on TikTok who goes into like history behind herbs and the history behind practices. And she was talking about, and I can't remember her handle. I wish I could. She's got like tattoos and like sits outside and like talks to the camera. She's groovy, groovy kind of gal. Um, but it was about the idea of imitation. And the big takeaway, I'm going to summarize this very briefly, was that when we put other people's needs in front of our own, when we're constantly attending to other people and other things, we get disconnected from ourselves in the process. And really, in my own body, I wasn't super grounded. I wasn't super landed. I wasn't super present. And so being able, and this goes for, I started somatic work when I was 20, excuse me, 20, almost 10 years ago. That's weird. Sorry, I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, "Hmm." In my early 20s, but it was a journey of learning how to be in my body and being someone who is, I'm fairly intuitive and fairly, my mirror neurons pick up on a lot. And that's like not even in the abstract woo woo. Literally, my mirror neurons resonate with things very, very quickly. Um, this the science of the woo. I think I probably need to do a video on that. Um, I've always been the type of person who's been more inclined to maybe meet other people's needs before my own. And so being able to orient back to myself and, hey, what is it that I need? What do I want? What do I need? What do I enjoy? What makes me happy? Has been sort of the bread and butter that really got me through my 20s and my 20s, but also, especially in 2026, has been something that I've had to anchor back to more so than ever. Um, it for a lot of reasons, and I think if you're on video, you can kind of see there's a very specific prop that I used in my videos that is no longer on my hands, and we'll leave it at that. Um, but finding what helps me regulate, what helps me orient to safety, what helps me orient to joy, pleasure, excitement, things like that. It's kind of like yoga. I don't know if there's ever going to come a time in my life that I'm not going to keep coming back to that.
Yeah. And we've, over the course of these conversations, have really talked about how life ebbs and flows. There's the good,
100%.
there's the bad, there's the ups, there's the downs. And to some, it can be a roller coaster. But if we can, yesterday's theme was awareness and be aware of what's happening. It's again, not coincidence that's stemming into today, but when we can slow down, I'm going to say orienting along the way is going to help that roller coaster, the high highs and low lows, at least become a little more manageable as we roll through life and sometimes the shit storms that come along.
And orienting to when you're on an uphill and when things are like being able to orient to when the wind is in your sails and then being able to orient to, okay, and I have no control, but your hands up. You're not stopping this train right now. Let's go. You can
And
either
let
be
it
scared or
be.
you can cheer.
Yeah, sometimes it has to happen. Let it be. Just roll with it. Yep, put those hands in the air. I do love that analogy, actually.
It's like being on, have you ever been on a roller coaster where somebody's just
Yes.
white knuckling it and miserable? And it's like, hey, babe, the stairs ended back there. Like you're on it right now. So you can, was it James Marsden in Hairspray said, you can either fight it or you can rock out to it. Let's go. Oh, let's go.
You'll
Okay,
get
here
through
we
it
are.
much faster if you, and easier if you rock out through it. Exactly.
It's,
And find little,
and by golly, your joints don't hurt so bad. Your teeth don't like, right. All the hypervigilance and all the ways that we grasp and all of those things have such a physiological toll on our body. If we can orient to, hey, I'm strapped in. I'm not getting off this, whether or not I want to. No amount of fight's going to get me there. Surrender and acceptance of, okay, let's let's go.
yeah. We've talked a lot about what it feels like when you're disconnected to the body versus when you're tuned into it, right? So there's the tension aspect. We didn't talk about fatigue, but for me, that's comes into play, like low energy. Emotional reactivity
Mhm.
really is heightened for me. But our presence and our intuition is also muted when we're
Mhm.
really not, or when we're disconnected to
Can't
the
listen.
body.
How are you supposed to listen? You can't.
Exactly.
It's whispering and everything else is screaming.
Exactly. And so, specifically, though, you mentioned it's the intersection of mind and body. How would you explain that in a way that practitioners can really understand? What does that mean?
You're asking such good questions. I love it. And it would probably have been, if I'd have read through them a little more thoroughly, I would have probably had something better prepared. But in the spirit of like putting our hands up and going with it,
Okay,
I
exactly.
I also, and what
Let
I've
me
found,
ask.
and this a little
Go
bit of
ahead.
an
Sorry.
aside here. No, I was gonna say a little bit of an aside is what I've found is that when I am very embodied, so this is, I'm going to answer your question a little bit indirectly. When I'm very embodied, I'm able to be calm enough and centered enough that things like this, being able to take a second and collect my thoughts and be with you in the moment works so much better. And if, so, and I was thinking about it, my baby was up when I tell you all night last night. She's got her two top teeth are about to cut through. Um, I was taking her to grandparents' house, and I was coming back, and I was thinking, man, I kind of wonder if I should have read those questions and prepared a little bit more. And whenever I do that, when I learned this lesson when I first started teaching group yoga classes, if I come in with a plan of how I want things to go and how I want things to work, 95% of the time I go with that plan for like 3 seconds and then I throw it out because it doesn't work. And so being able to be present in my body, I'm going to speak personally here, being able to be present in my body in the here and now at 10:42 a.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesday, May 20th, right? With you, Jamie, like being able to be here grounded with you is what allows everything to flow well. It is what allows my thoughts to be able to be cohesively formed in a way that I can respond not just to that specific one question that you asked, but to all the other ways that it plays in, right? So if we're thinking truly being with a mind body connection, it's being able to be with our thoughts, not be in them, but be with them, recognize them. Hey, buddy, that's a thought. Do I want to keep it or not? You have that choice. Being able to recognize that, hey, yep, I've still got Scooter on me, right? Oh, that anxiety I felt yesterday. No, he's good. He's still good, right? Hey, my bum's not feeling the best on this stool. I might shift that in a second, but I'm good for a little bit longer. And then being able to integrate in the sensory information from my body with the cognitive, with the nervous system piece. I feel very grounded and regulated and present right here and right now. And also being able to bring in curiosity of, for me, what truly being embodied in a mind body connection is being able to be with all of it in such a way that we are able to be with others as well too. When I am truly in my mind body connection and I'm truly in an embodied state of being, I am more able to go out in the world and interact in an authentic way. I am more able to connect with my baby girl in an authentic way. I'm able to be present with her. Me at 4 o'clock in the morning when she's been nursing for 2 hours and won't stop. Hey, I just can we please go to sleep? Right? That's that I'm dissociating from the feeling of her nursing because there's teeth cutting, right? Maybe not my most embodied sense, but me, on the way, we're laughing. I'm singing her songs in the back seat, looking at her, right? Being able to interact with her, being able to be with her, being able to engage and be present and be authentic. That is the gift of being able to be truly in our mind body connection. And it does so in a way that we're able to find reciprocity with other people and to have connection in a way that isn't draining. And if it is, you can realize that it's draining and get out, right? But being able to have connection and community in a way that is so engaging and so reciprocal and that fills us up and allows us to be more present, more embodied, more engaged. And that's really where, so when we think like the mind body roadmap, I've got kind of like a target almost, the outer layer moving in. We're all those own targets. Like you're your own target, your own little universe. I'm my own little universe. How do we come together in this way? And how does this piece come in? And how do we start to then build a really beautiful bouquet or a really beautiful neighborhood or a really beautiful community of other people who are engaged and present too? And it can really just start to expand out in some really, really cool ways. And not to say, I actually do use the books on my bookshelf. They're not just props. Somebody made a comment about it being a Zoom background. I was like, no, no, those are real books.
My
Um,
personal library.
it's my personal library, exactly. Virginia Satir was a family therapist in the 60s, 70s-ish, whose motto was peace within, peace between, peace among. If you can have peace and she was really big in the Esalen Institute and all sorts of
Oh
really
yeah.
kind of yeah, yeah. You can start getting into Esalen and like the mind body connection. That's where Peter Levine, Pat Ogden, right? All of the big names of what we're talking about. Virginia Satir's idea was that hey, if you can do all that somatic work and find peace in here, and if two people can do all that stuff and find peace within themselves, they can have peace between the two of them. And if a whole community of people can do their own internal work, there can be peace among all of them. And really, that is how this can start to cascade into something so much bigger than us. And it's about us. MJ said it, start with man in the mirror, right? But starting with your own internal sense of mind body awareness, then I want to say they've done studies with, I can't remember if it was a monk who was meditating or if it was a regulated nervous system or something along those lines. But one grounded person can help people within a 10-foot radius ground and regulate.
Absolutely.
Well,
I
and
felt
I
that
wish
on
I
my
could remember
first.
the citation, but it really, one person within a 10-foot radius can impact positively or negatively. And I don't know about you, but
Correct.
I want to be the person to impact people positively.
Absolutely. And that experience happened to me on my first Zoom. The bear was in the room big time with me. I felt it to my core,
Mhm.
but I was chatting with Bex and she just maintained this stoic, grounded, beautiful energy. And I was able to lean into that. And so feeling that firsthand, I connect with what you're saying. But that's a beautiful aspect of what we can do in the treatment room too, without anything else, is be that grounded, positive energy that is going to relay to the person that we are treating. I find
Absolutely.
myself realizing or thinking like, gosh, I wish I knew this when my kids were young, because I look back and spend so much time wishing that I wasn't in such a state of fight or flight or survival. Because it was difficult for me personally in the first number of years with my kids. But I do understand that information hits us and we learn things when we're supposed to at the most appropriate time. And I have it now and I can move forward with it. But we're trying to share this with people so that they can learn it for their now as well
Absolutely.
and use it and take heed. But this brings me to my next question, and it could be a big one, but I just like to get your
I
your
like them.
insight. We do only have 10 minutes, but for the sake of the question, I like to hear your perspective. I'll start by saying I do think there's a movement happening, and I'm talking about my world right now, this wellness spa specific. I think spa is moving into wellness. We're merging a little
Mhm.
bit more. There's still
Agree.
very much a divide though, which is softening. But and of course we're doing our part to get, this type of information out there, of course, with the holistic lens. But for um hmm, where is my question? How does this The question was, I thought I had it outlined here, but why do you think this is still not quite connected, happening yet within our industry, being taught as for massage therapists and estheticians, somebody who has firsthand access to somebody's body and assistance in nervous system regulation.
It's say it's not even taught to therapists either. Can nobody, unless you're getting, I'm so sorry, I have a dog here. The ice cream. The gift of the canines is the furry
Gift that keeps on giving.
litter. But what we are talking about, this nervous system piece, so really Peter Levine's work was in like 60s and 70s, was when he started, I think, somatic experiencing. He started teaching it in the 90s. Polyvagal theory came out in the 90s. Um, it's also wild. I am older than the law requiring women to be involved in clinical trials by like a year, two
Wow.
years. So do with that what you will. Um, but what we're speaking of here is a underlying piece that requires schools of all types. I mean, there are medical doctors that go through this manic experiencing program because it's not taught in med school. Functional neuroanatomy is sure, but not how to actually use it to regulate the nervous system from this perspective. Um, then you've got some grad schools for therapy adjacent types that will teach that, sure. And occasionally you'll get a massage program with somebody who knows enough, or an esthetician program with somebody who knows how to do this. But as a society, we have not gotten to a point where we as a whole are willing to acknowledge the role that this plays. It's still woo-woo. Like I still I had a friend over at my house this past weekend who was talking about, I everybody thinks I'm woo-woo and crazy, right? Until they try it and until it works. And I want to make sure to save time for kind of some practical ways to apply this. I want to make sure that people get
My
that
next
that idea.
question.
But we're in a time and a place where this work, it was me. I went to grad school for therapy. I joke I have $100,000 wall. Went to grad school for therapy, went to massage school, did my yoga therapy training, and all of those pieces, yoga therapy a bit more than the others, none of them actually taught me how to regulate a nervous system. I had to go learn that and pay another, I think SE was about 10 grand when I did it all in, if not more than that, not including travel and time off and things like that. It's very expensive to learn these pieces. And then by the time you get all of that in, it's also on a core level challenging the underlying beliefs that a lot of people hold. And you get people who are very defensive and protective about their field, right? And people who are very defensive and protective about the way they do things. Well, I do this, then that, so it can't be wrong, right? There's a lot of ego that comes in with it. Instead of saying, okay, and what else? Yes, and it's like improv. Okay, yes, and beautiful. Yeah, yes, that therapy training, the mental health piece, that's wonderful, that's beautiful. And what else? Yes, we love that you're teaching a group yoga class. And how can we make this more that? And oh, we love the spa world. Yes. And how can we? And if you're able to be curious and to be open to the possibility of, it's not that you did something wrong, but hey, is there a newer way that we can try something different to maybe get a better result? Things work really well, but that takes a specific type of person being in a specific type of headspace to even be willing to ask that question of themselves. And it's, well, why do you train? Oh Lord, I'm going to make this very brief. I
You just
think I calculated the amount of hours of trauma training I have. And I mean, if we're not close to 1,000, it's over 1,000. And somebody said, well, how can there, I did a 20-hour training. I know all there is to know about trauma. My
right.
sweet summer child. Okay. That's not the type of person
Yeah.
who's ready to go deeper. But there's always a new lens and always a new stance and always something that we can be more curious about and more adapt to. And if you're okay with that, do you mind if I kind of take it into some of the specific orienting practices I
Yeah,
like?
I definitely want to get there. Before you do though,
Yeah.
here's what I'm going to say to those watching live right now. Before I say that, I think the light bulb moment that I just had when you were saying that is, oh, as a Western society and Western medicine, we have not yet caught up with what's happening in the Eastern culture, society, medical uh,
Yeah.
aspect of things. So that's really where and why. Because I don't think it dawned on me that, oh, well, it's just not being taught, period. You have to seek it out, you have to find it. So,
Oh, well, and they play, okay, if you understand how they play together, they're very compatible. They're
yes.
not.
Oh,
It's not
absolutely.
traditional Chinese medicine or Western medicine. There's beautiful
Correct.
and there's ways that we can integrate all this, and it's not, well, I'm against antibiotics because I like the woo-woo. No, my friend, like I had a C-section. Do the hippie woo-woo dippy dippy thing, sure. And if the answer is you need medical intervention, know when and where is the time and place for it. But I think one of the biggest pitfalls is that our Western medical model is not really optimized for wellness and for true vitality. It is
That is
healthcare
the
system.
better way. That is the best way I've heard it said. Absolutely. Because
It's
there is
it's
a place, there is a time, there's
yes.
a high level of need for our
It,
Western medicine.
and being able to understand when and where to use both, I think, is such a gift that requires people, again, requires people to be able to think about things differently than they're used to thinking about it.
Exactly. So, to interject for a moment, to those of you watching on live stream right now, I believe only Instagram is the one that is going to stop because it cuts us off at an hour. But Savannah and I are going to continue the conversation. It will be linked eventually on our website, a live stream to the whole video. We will also be sending it to your inbox if you've pre registered. You'll get it faster if you've pre registered. But just know that this conversation is going to continue. And you can also find how to work with Savanna directly on holisticspa-alliance.com under Rooted in Practice. You can find her full bio, her social links, the courses, the ebooks that she has, how to work with her personally. I could not suggest more to follow her. She's a beautiful follow, an entertaining follow, and it's packed full of knowledge in such a great way. But so Instagram will stop all on its own. We're not going to pause again to say goodbye, but
Jeez.
when it shuts off, you know where to find us. So let's continue this conversation then. Which is let's get into some tangibles on what, how, all of that.
Yeah. So I have kind of, and this is so on my like in my whole link tree, there's a sign up for nervous system essentials. It's for the interest list. You will be the first to know when this comes out. It hasn't happened yet. Again, 2026 brought me a lot of 2026. We'll just leave it at that. But and I had hoped to have kind of this course outline already out, but life has an interesting way of saying no, thank you. But the first level of my nervous system essentials is going to be orienting. So there's going to be nervous system essentials orienting, nervous system essentials threat response cycle, and then from there moving into, okay, let's actually talk about how to work with fight flight because I do not care one iota how stuck in fight flight you are. I'm not working with that until I teach you how to work with a brake. And that's where orienting is. Orienting is that gentle foot brake that kind of happens on a vehicle. And we'll get into that a lot more. Probably I've got some YouTubes coming out too on that. But the basic kind of overview of orienting is it's how we find the pause and how we find those sometimes just 5 minute pockets throughout our day. And when we're thinking about, I said this earlier, I think, I'm not interested in a full-blown ritual that takes you 30 minutes that involves a cold plunge and hooking yourself up to a vagus nerve stimulator and having to do a full-blown meditation and a full 20-minute movement practice. Nobody has time for that. I'm a busy mom, you're a busy mom. Like even if nothing else, you have a job and a life to live. Like you don't have time to stop and take 20 minutes every time you need a second. But what we can do is get really, really strategic with that nervous system, really, really strategic with the parts of our body that help us orient to safety or threat and use it to our advantage. So, step number one is we're going to come to our eyes. So, there's a whole lot that plays in with our eyes. People talk about the vagus nerve, it's one of our cranial nerves, it's cranial nerve 10. One of them, it's one of those cranial nerves. There are, I think, 3 or 4 different cranial nerves that coordinate our vision. And it is one of the most critical pieces to being able to regulate our nervous system. And I cannot say this loud enough. If you have had a concussion, if you have had your head hit, if you've been in a car accident, please go see a neuro-optometrist to rule out binocular vision issues. It would have saved me a year of stress in my life and a year of a whole lot of weird symptoms. Essentially, my eyes couldn't put the pieces together after my wreck. I was working with 2 separate pictures. They could not converge to make one. I had no depth perception for about a year. It was wild. Um, but in that, our eyes are what helps us orient first and foremost more than anything. So we are going to literally look around your room. We're also going to get our head and neck moving too, because vagus does innervate the back of the neck, the muscles of the back of the neck, the suboccipitals. We're looking around with our head and our neck and our eyes and allowing our eyes to find things that we like looking at in our room or in your environment. And I do this everywhere. When I'm going in front of a group to present, I'm orienting to things around the room I like looking at. I like her shirt. Ooh, I like his, oh, that's a funny thing on his shirt. Okay, I like this, I like that. I'm constantly looking around and finding things that I enjoy. I'm orienting to things that I like in my environment with my eyes. And I could do that in here, but literally looking around, finding things that you enjoy, and getting the full range of motion with your eyes all the way around. That recruits several of those cranial nerves to come tell your body, hey, buddy, I looked around this whole space and I didn't see one bear. Check, right? So we're starting with that. If you've got somebody on the table, right? Hey, maybe you're putting things on the ceiling that you like, that giving people things to look at. Maybe you're asking them to kind of, hey, can you look up here for me? Can you look around over there? What do you see? What do you like looking at? Like you can literally, yeah. Yes, yes, yes,
Right?
yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but this beautiful moss piece goes all the way up and around.
We are orienting to the moss piece, and that's really it. If something comes up in your environment, oh, look at that squirrel. I love that, right? Orient to orient to the squirrel. So visually, I can't say this enough. Visually orienting. Bread and butter. And there's a whole, especially if you're working with people on the table, or if you're kind of building your own wellness practice, looking at Thomas Myers anatomy trains, the superficial back line of fascia, it starts from the aponeurosis at the top of the head, suboccipitals all the way down the back line of the body, all the way to the plantar fascia. So if you wanted to build a little bit more of a robust practice, go stretch that superficial back line of fascia. Go do some yoga, go do a down dog, go stretch your calves, go maybe move, put something on the back of your neck, right? There's lots of ways you can do that, get creative. But all of that, though, comes back to the eyes and orienting. If we're thinking about smell, spa world.
Do that well.
We do that well, right? Hey, what do you think about this? You know, you're putting product. What do you think about it? Do you want an essential oil? Do you want some aromatherapy? Orienting to smells, it's insane. Cranial nerve number one is the olfactory nerve. Not talked about in polyvagal theory at all, but smelling lavender essential oil has been clinically shown, and smelling vanilla essence. I don't literally vanilla. They've both been clinically shown to reduce blood pressure and to cause the same physiological responses that a downregulating vagal response would do. It's not vagus, it's not polyvagal at all, but it does the same thing that we would expect a polyvagal response to look like if we're downshifting and downregulating. It's about more than just your vagus nerve, right? Sorry. Can you tell I geek out about this and I really do love this.
I love
But
it.
so we're smelling, right? Oh, what is I got a new essential oil. It was I'm going to take a walk around really briefly. I got a beautiful wallpaper from Painted Paper. And instead of hanging wallpaper, I wasn't really interested in that. I got, well, especially because I'm technically running my home, I got wallpaper samples, the big 24 by 36 samples, and framed them. So I have beautiful like wallpaper in my, like hung and framed in my entryway. It's a lotus flower. And so it's this beautiful pink lotus flower. I bought a pink lotus flower essential oil for the first time and I took a whiff. I had never smelled lotus essential oil before. I'd never smelled a lotus flower.
I don't think I have
I,
either.
I love pink lotus. It smelled, I was like, this is the smell that I love. It's one of those that once you smelled it, I was like, oh, this is it. I got it off of, I think, Amazon. But having that pink lotus to orient to visually, no mud, no lotus, right? They grow literally out of mud. A lot of life symbolism there. Having that essential oil to smell, right? There's a lot of pieces. And if that's how I like to layer in my practices, which is kind of how we're going with this. Taste. This is like a clear protein lemon, like a lemonade flavor. Actually tasting the flavor of my beverage. I tell people all the time, You have okay, cool. You have a cup of whatever. I don't care. Take a sip and taste it. No, 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 no. Swallow it. Taste it. Let it play on your tongue. What do you notice? Do you like the Oh, you don't actually like the flavor of that? Huh? Why are you drinking it then? Mhm. But being able to orient to sight, to smell, to taste. Sound is another one that can get, which especially if you're on the table, maybe if somebody had like a piece of candy or something, you could orient to taste, but that could get weird. Um, can you taste your lunch that you just had? I don't know that I
Yeah,
wouldn't
we
recommend
save that for the end with a glass of tea, a water or tea.
that. Yeah, maybe not at
I
the beginning.
suppose there are some practices that do like a CBD drop under the tongue before they go in that, but I know what you're saying.
Um, but sound, right? What are you listening to? Do you like the spa music we have on? If some places I know you don't have, it's not within your control, but if it is within your control, hey, what do you want to listen to? Is there something that you really enjoy listening to? Is there something that is really grounding and calming for you? Give me a Native American drum. Oh, I can drop into like a meditative state so easy with a drum, like a good like shamanic drumming. I love it. I don't like spa music. I don't. I don't like the little piano. Give me like I was like, I'll
Same.
do give me Zepp. Like, can I do a massage to like Led Zeppelin 4? Like, can we have when the levee breaks or something like that? When it keeps on anyway. Sound though is also very intimately correlated with our vestibular system, our ability to balance. So for people with vertigo, for people with like balancing issues and things like that, it's the vestibulocochlear nerve. It's literally the same nerve that governs sound and that governs balance. It's also why with people with vertigo, the Epley maneuver, like to help realign the crystals in your ear, can be helpful. Um, but it's also interesting how quickly sound can take you back to a wonderful place. If you're listening to a sound, man, that took me back to 2020 blank or whatever. Man, this song makes me think of my mom, or man, this song makes me think of that. And also, damn, that song makes me think of that god awful time and place. Change it next. Nope. Right? It can be sound and music can be very polarizing, and really being able to orient and recognize what is people want to say that trauma sensitivity is knowing what to play. No, it's recognizing that anything could be triggering and anything can be regulating and adapting when it happens, right? But touch specifically, can you notice the heat of the table? Before you walk into your session, as the practitioner, can you take a second and feel your feet on the ground? Take a second, maybe with a warm towel if you've got an extra one. Maybe put the warm towel on your hands on your face. Maybe I love cold. Um, Look around, feel when and where you are. Take a whiff. I'm at work, right? I hear the music. I'm about to go in and work. This is when and where I am. This is what we're doing. And then going in grounded versus being all cattywampus and kind of energy abound, but also for people on the table, right? Hey, can you feel the blankets? Is that the right? We do it intuitively anyway. Hey, oh, the pillow behind your knees, is that in the right spot? If it's not, people are going to tell you. Hey, are you hot? Are you cold? Do you need another blanket? Right? All of those types of things can play in with touch as well too. And proprioception and interoception is just going to have to wait because we're already over. But as far as the five senses go, picking things that may seem simple and layering in as many as you can with the intention of, hey, these are all things that I enjoy and that I like and that I can be curious about. And what happens when I put them all together? Finding those pockets, man.
I'm going to assume then, I mean, this can be a simple exercise that we do with our clients without sharing at least at first that, hey, we're orienting now,
Oh, 100%.
right? So just to be a little more aware of that as a practitioner to say, breathe in
Oh, I'm
as you're
sneaky about
smelling
it.
the lavender.
I'm sneaky.
Same with the tactile. Maybe a point within the music comes up that we draw the attention to intentionally.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming or I'm imagining that at the end of my treatment is a great time to say what we were doing throughout is orienting. This is a great tool that you can do on your own anywhere, whether you're driving a car, you're at home cooking dinner, and you get these feelings, or you open your laptop and you get that email. When you start to feel those things, think back to how you smelled the lavender in the treatment room. You felt the warmth of the table. And you might not have those exact things, but what within your space is going to bring you back to self?
And what do you have? Like you don't go buy stuff. I mean, if you want to, cool, but
Correct.
what do you have that you can use to get the same effect? And so when I'm working with people, especially usually first few sessions, I can't, so this is part of the nervous system training is there's a lot of very subtle cues that I'm reading to see if somebody is starting to get activated. And at first, I'm intervening because we're trying to prevent that from happening. With that specifically, hey, can you look around the room? Can you find something you like? Oh, I like this, I like that. And then people will start talking, and then son of a gun, it's hey, 11, 11. Son of a gun every single time. Something will hit, and they'll go big exhales, softening of the tissues, people letting the tension go. I'm saying, hey, that big exhale there you go, that. I don't know what, just do that. More, whatever work, do that again. Find that. Well, I was looking at this and I saw, and I'm like, cool, stay with that. And then when they start, if they start to get triggered again, or they start to get activated again, or they start to get a little bit tense again, hey, that thing that you liked, that whatever that helped that exhale happen, can you come back to that? Oh yeah. People will tell you with their systems, and this is if you know how to read a body, I'm giving you kind of the how-to here. If you can intuit, hey, they're softening, they're settling, they're starting to exhale, they're kind of melting on the table. I'm bringing their awareness to that and encouraging them to do more of that, whatever that may be. And you say, hey, remember those things that worked really well for you that were able to help you take a big deep breath out? Yeah. Can I give you homework to just do a little bit more of that in your life and find more things that make you do that? Because you
We're
say,
acting
well,
as
I want you to find more things that make you feel regulated. People are like, the hell are you talking about?
right.
You mean,
We're
but hey,
essentially acting as a guide inside the treatment room to help them notice the times that they are becoming regulated, and then helping them then connect the dots on how to do that. Because you're right, I think sometimes the language can be foreign to somebody who has no idea what we're talking about.
and hey, you may not know if you know nothing, you haven't heard any of this. And I
Mhm.
say, hey, is there something that really makes you just feel like, whew, like you're chilling on in your like most happy favorite spot ever? Somebody's gonna tell you something. Cool. Can you find more things in your life that make you feel like that, even for just a second, for just a pocket of time? People can work with that. And that's where I say, I think that's kind of, I'm like, no, I don't want to say anything more.
Well, let's go just like a snippet more. And I don't mean a lot, but so we've been talking about, if someone listening, or we've established when someone listening feels disconnected from their bodies, where did it begin? We've covered that with,
Mhm.
and you've certainly done that without overcomplicating it. And that I think is a really amazing piece to know that it can be as simple as this to help orient it, to help our nervous system. But for somebody already doing this work, okay, there's got to be a few of us, quite a few, I'm assuming, out there doing this type of work. What is a deeper layer most people haven't explored yet? And just a snippet, because I don't want to start to overwhelm, but for somebody who might be like, yep, I'm doing that. We've got that.
What I would suggest, and this is sort of where that comes to, hey, we want to find the break first. If you're really good at finding the break, if you're really good at intervening and helping yourself feel grounded and regulated, then the work starts to become okay. And this is really that level, like next level of what I was talking about earlier. What's your first sign that you're starting to go into fight or flight? What's your first sign that you're starting to go into that overwhelm? How, and when 0 to 10 here, we're not looking for the 10 out of 10. No, 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 no. But can we get you comfortable on the bunny slopes with a 3 out of 10 on the fight flight scale? Comfortable with 3 out of 10? You get really good at that 3 out of 10. Okay, then a 5 out of 10. And so once you start to feel that 3 out of 10 big energy, well, hey, again, there's this thing happen and I kind of feel a little stressed about it, but like it's just like a 3 or 4 out of 10. can you then strategically bring in those tools that help you feel grounded and regulated to give you a pathway for that energy to move out? Feel a little bit of it. You take a bite of the big PTSD, fight flight energy, you chew it up, you swallow it, right? Use your tools, metabolize that energy. And then when you're ready to come back to it, you take another bite. Go for another 3 to 4 out of 5. And then can you start to move that? That's how I work with people from a somatic perspective. We find the break first. And then once you're comfortable with the break, then you start to give yourself a little bit of gas and then a little bit of break. A little bit of gas, a little bit of break. And it becomes this dance of learning how to drive the car in a way that facilitates you to live a fruitful life. Because and I'm going to pardon the language on the front end, anybody who tells you that you will never be dysregulated again is full of shit. I hope, honest to goodness, that everyone listening, if you encounter a bear that is truly a bear, a regulated nervous system is going to respond to the bear. If you need to fight a bear in your environment, I hope to God that you have access to the energy to be able to fight and fight like hell. And if you need to be able to run, if fight doesn't work and you need to be able to flee, I hope that you can beat feet to get out of there, Johnny on the spot, and get out of that bad situation. And if you can't fight and if you can't run and the only hope that you have of surviving is to freeze and shut down, I hope that you can move into freeze, and just like a deer that's in the headlights, when you realize it's safe, I hope you can move out of that freeze, through that fight or flight, and find regulation again. That is nervous system regulation. It's being able to move through all of them and not get stuck. And if there what's the biggest misconception? Being regulated is not being calm 100% of the time. If you have a bear, I hope you can fight the bear. And I'm telling you, I hope kick the bear's ass.
Right. It's not about doing away with how the body's been designed. The amygdala
It's
needs to
survival.
send the response for a true threat, but
Yep.
it doesn't know how to differentiate a real bear versus an email that makes you uncomfortable.
And that is why orienting is so incredibly important. It's because it's what allows our system to tell the difference between a real bear in the room and something that feels like a bear.
Yeah, you started to say earlier, and we talked about this when we've chatted prior to the summit, that if you can just stack 2 minutes, 5 minutes of wins a couple of times a day or a week, that is so much better than, and of course, I'm not trying to discredit what we do as massage therapists, but
Mm-mm.
stacking those wins is better than waiting till next month when I can get my 1 hour massage set aside. Now, if you can stack your wins and still get that massage, still get
Yes,
that facial,
do both.
then amazing. But
Well, or the people that will say, well, oh, I can do an hour of yoga tomorrow. Get your 2 to 5 minutes throughout the day and throughout the day tomorrow and go do your hour of yoga and be way more regulated then, but you don't have to wait till the big full hour long practice. Literally, can you carve out a couple minutes and a couple minutes and a couple minutes? And son of a gun, those couple minutes start to snowball really quickly and really fast. And the, it's sort of like the idea of building a life that you don't have to take a vacation from. If all you're living for is a vacation, you're going to miss a whole lot in the middle.
I gave this example in our first chat on movement. I have been, for the longest, as I can remember, my whole life, an all or nothing.
Mhm.
And movement, as the example was, well, I can't run a 5K. Why am I even walking to try to get there?
Yeah,
Silly, I know, but
we all do it.
I have needed to learn to take bites, little bits instead of the all or nothing. That has applied for me in work and now has come full circle for me. And I take a 5 minute walk instead of a 5 mile walk, right? I am doing one email out of the 20 sitting in my inbox.
One's
And
better than none.
it doesn't get bigger and bigger and overwhelm and keep me in this perpetual, I've labeled it as survival mode, but recognizing that because it's been an all or nothing and not taking little bites along the way and stacking my wins, By avoiding it, it's just created more and more angst, more and more dysregulation. And
Well, and
so,
then it becomes this thing. It's like it almost takes on its. So I have a power rack. I've got a really beautiful screened-in porch, and I've got kind of like a couch and also like it's like a equal parts like sitting area and gym. It's pretty big. I keep my bar loaded up for like my for squats, and if my baby's chilling in her seat or chilling in we call it baby jail, the like little pack and play. If she's playing in her little pack and play, I go do. Sometimes I can't get 3 sets of squats in. I can get a set. Better than none, right?
stack
Any
those wins.
Something is always better than nothing. And like I said, yes, take every the world is fighting against all of us right now in all sorts of ways, and we're just going to not go deep into that. But it is almost an act of rebellion in some ways to take the wins. And if the best that we can do is take a few pockets of wins and stick it to the proverbial, folks that don't want us regulated and calm and embodied, I think it's a win.
Absolutely. And those small stacks, those small wins, those like one set of squats becomes two, becomes 3 sets. My 5 minute walk becomes a
An
10
eight
minute
minute walk.
walk, becomes a 5 mile walk eventually, you become stronger. We're creating new neural pathways because you know you can do it. You're believing in yourself. And this applies to so many levels as well. I want to start wrapping this up, unfortunately. I think you have some examples on how practitioners can start helping on some tangible things. There was something to do with ice? There was something to do, what are some,
So,
or maybe you've already covered that in the tangible on what you can feel.
I think t temperature is just a really great one. I love ice because ice is a bear in and of its own realm, right? If you are like hypothermia can be fatal, it can be a threat. But if all you have is a cup of ice or something cold to put on your face, like a pack of frozen veggies or something to put on your face, it gives your body the chance to fight. Wait, 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 hold on. We've got a bear. Oh, wait, that's just a small pack of ice. Like, right, it starts to realize that you're not in the tundra or the taiga and you're not about to die of hypothermia, right? So it gives your system a strategic small bear to fight. You get a little bit of that sympathetic gas pedal, but then it usually downregulates fairly quickly. Um, Warm can be very parasympathetic dominant, so very kind of brake dominant. But I found for a lot of folks, they don't need more brake. They need more ways to move the gas. They need more ways to learn how to be with the gas and to help come out of the gas pedal. Just cool, you can hit the brake all you want, but if the brake's not really connected and working well, sometimes the warm, it's like, okay, cool, it's hot, and now I'm still hot and I'm anxious versus, hey, it feels like there's a bear. Paying attention to the ice. Like I said, I like to do full face cold, either full face cold or back and neck cold just because of innervation. Um, you orient to the problem of the ice, but it's a very manageable, very deal withable problem. Regulate down out of it pretty easily.
Yeah, I think
Most people.
I what stuck in my mind about this example was the bear. Like you're resimulating something on a low level, but your body's going to have an initial reaction to it. So it's almost like a practice to get into
Exactly.
in order to help yourself through a controlled version of the bear
And the
to
man,
start implementing those practices.
it is a bear. It is a bear.
Mhm.
But son of a gun, it's like a little baby bear that kind of just wants to snuggle you and is still bottle fed. It's really cute. Like it's not a threatening bear. You're good. It's not a mama bear. Like you're fine.
Exactly. All right. So in closing, this is kind of we've kind of answered this, but I want to hear how your perspective. If a practitioner truly started listening to their bodies for the next 90 days, what would change first for them? And we're going to end it here.
I'm going to answer that a little bit differently than you asked it.
Okay.
And then I'm going to answer the question as it was presented. What would change for them? Yes. If you started to listen to your body for 90 days, what would change for you? Yes. Most everything in your life is going to start to shift in some way. What would change first? It's really going to depend on the person. It's going to depend on which sensory pathway is the most accessible for you. So it's kind of like a house with 5 doors: touch, taste, sight, sound, smell, right? If one of the doors is cemented over and blocked with a bunch of stuff in the back. We don't want to take that doorway in. So if you're the type of person who has maybe sounds are really overstimulating, I wouldn't start grounding with sound. I'd pick something else. I'd pick something that feels easy. Literally take the low-hanging fruit. And then what you might start to notice is that other low-hanging fruit becomes more available. And this sort of goes back to being trauma sensitive, right? We can't know what will be triggering because it's very individualized. We can't necessarily say what will be the reward because it's very individualized. But what I do know is that it will show up. And if we can be curious about it, we can be really curious about how that shows up for us and then start to share our notes with other people. Like, hey, I don't know about you, but this worked for me. And maybe that thing doesn't work for them, but maybe it gives them the spark to think, oh, well, if that worked for them, maybe something this could work instead. Like, yes, and, right? The improv. What else?
And
What else? What other low-hanging fruit can we work with? So what will change is that yes will change. And what will change first is going to be very, very dependent on you. But I hope you
individual.
enjoy your low-hanging fruit. And I hope it's juicy and delicious.
Thank you so much. Let me finish by asking, is there anything we might have missed or anything else you want to input before we get into how to work with you?
Don't be afraid of the joy and don't be afraid of the regulation. I think so many
Mm,
people go through life afraid of change, and understandably so, because being in the stress, being in the tension, being in the dysregulation is familiar. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's good for you. And just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's working. And I think too many times people mistake comfort and familiarity for what is in our highest good. And I think the piece of this is don't be afraid to win, don't be afraid to succeed, don't be afraid of joy, and don't be afraid of the unknown. Okay. Be afraid of the unknown, sure, but be curious enough about what could be good in it that you're at least willing to give it a shot.
love
Change
that.
say the best wisdom that my dad ever gave me, wrapped up in a nutshell. Don't tell him that
Your secret is safe.
though.
Oh, Savannah, thank you again and again and again. How can we find you? Let's start with your socials and your website.
Yep. So socials are Hey Savanna Scott on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and I think Facebook too. I don't like Facebook business, but I do have a Facebook like professional page. And then I've got a link tree that has my website in there for sort of the holistic all around. I've got some lymphatic courses and a lymphatic ebook, which I know sounds weird. Like, wait, girl, your nervous system and you teach about lymphatic stuff. My personal stance is that lymphatic health is a really, really key to being able to interocept well. And our interoception is being able to tune in. Everything works better when we can take the trash out, which is really what lymphatic health is about. And it was also something that was a little bit more tangible for me to start with. So all of the courses and the ebooks that you see in the lymphatic suite, I mean, will be replicated in the nervous system. Some point, hopefully, in between before 2027. That's my goal. Um, but then if you're in the state of Arkansas, so I don't normally advertise this, if you're in the state of Arkansas though, and you do want to work with me professionally in more of a psychotherapeutic, like mental health capacity, you can look up Savanna Scott, therapist, Arkansas, and it should pop right up. My business is holistic therapy and wellness. But really that is more just for very, very traditional therapy lenses. More of what I'm doing is really shifting away from that and shifting into more of the yoga therapy umbrella, which is all of the socials, which it really in social media is me wearing all my hats. My platform, it's a Stan store, I think stan.store/Savannah Scott. Um, that one really is me wearing all my hats, really under the umbrella of yoga therapy. Um, and we do touch a bit on mental health in that, but it's very, 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 very minuscule and more in the idea of how our thoughts impact everything else. So more, which is really, like I said, more integrative, more on that end. And there will be one-to-ones. I was hoping to do that this summer. I'm going to be really honest, it's probably not going to happen this summer, but small groups are going to be happening at some point this year. Nervous system regulation groups, very specifically under that yoga therapy lens, will be happening hopefully before 2027.
That's amazing.
I need to quit giving myself deadlines that I'm getting upset about not meeting. But hopefully before 2027. That's my goal.
That's amazing. Yes. And as is everybody else, Savannah's information is also linked on holisticspa-alliance.com, rooted in practice. Savannah has also offered generously a code
Yeah,
for a little bit of
HSA
a
10.
discount.
HSA 10.
HSA for Holistic Spa Alliance 10, and for a limited time you can save. So scoop those up. Follow
We'll probably
Savannah,
close
work
that
with
out.
Savannah. Sorry?
I say I'll probably close that out end of June, honestly, if I'm thinking about it. Probably HSA
Perfect.
10 through the end of June.
That's a very generous time frame then. Thank you. I
I'm
appreciate it.
saying that now. I decided that now. HSA 10 through the end of June.
Charge. Thank you again, Savannah, for all of this. Thank you everybody to watching, and Savannah, until next time, because I know that we are going to connect again. I can feel it. So
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie. Until next time.
bye everyone. Thank you.